Hello and good morning, good evening, wherever you are. We are happy to have you on our screens and we are grateful that you are with us and not with others. Today we have a little challenge with our technology in the stream, such as however I try to arrange it, I seem to produce a funny echo. So, um,
Well,
as
at least it's
very
funny.
sorry.
At least it's funny.
Yeah,
We would not want a sad echo.
and I'm very grateful that we have Natalie Petouhoff again in our round of merry men. And while she is checking with her notes, I'm grateful that we have her here in her new role as being an independent advisor. Times are changing and empathy is getting even more important in every area. And I would like to welcome you, Natalie, and give you a warm applause and a big hand, such as we're looking forward in having a cool hour of entertaining and interesting and empathic exchange.
Thank you. It's great to be here again.
We get another hour with our favorite rocket scientist
Oh, thank
and empathic writer and consultant and analyst. And you're just really good at a bunch of things, and we're lucky to have you.
And
thank you.
And that was originally an idea that she has an opportunity aside of Marshall to tell some more details. And I'm curious what Marshall, being a big fan like myself, has left out. What could be interesting for the audience if they are joining in for the first time?
So for me, this is kind of a new career direction, but not really. Because if you look at my history, right, I've done independent consulting for years. I've been working directly with brands for years in my role as a management consultant, as a Salesforce analyst, head of a digital agency for a global digital agency, and really with the two software vendors that I work for. So working with customers is not new. Working as an independent consultant is not really new, especially when you're an analyst. You basically run your own company. Even if you're inside of a big analyst firm, you're still drumming up your own business, right? You write, you create. So it's not really that new. And for me, it's really fun to get to talk to chief customer officers, the head of digital, the head of IT, and to really look at helping people understand this concept of empathy. Because what I found is that you read a book, you think you're being really clear, and then what's fascinating is how people interpret that. So still explaining the difference between empathy and empathy. And I'm still helping companies understand the different, like, so I talk about empathy theme. Oh, well, it means I have to spend more and more. And I'm like, well, spend money anyways, right? So what I'm asking you to do is spend money so that you can increase your revenue and decrease your costs. And then there's this always the pause because it's like, how can that be possible? And that's the paradigm shift. And then so for me, it's been really fun. It's been fun also to work with tech vendors. So kind of going back to my analyst role, because most CRM chat technology is one of the biggest aspects of why experiences are horrible. And having an analyst and having, like spend a lot of time going, oh, gosh, this is the latest cool thing that's coming out. And then finding that what I found in retrospect, where we are today in the fifth industrial revolution, which is meaning technology and things that we've never do before, in comparison to what we had before, a great deal of why experiences are bad is because of technology. So I'm helping a lot of the vendors look at their technology through new eyes. And if you think about it, how many times we're all customers, we're on a website, we are shopping, we're logged in, so we know who we are, or should know who we are. We have things in our shopping cart, and we have a question, we look at the FAQ, we don't really find it, a window pops up, stuff, asks you who you are, to know who I am. It asks you, what do you want? Well, you see something in my shopping cart, you should know that. And then it gives you canned answers, right? Or even some that has a little bit of AI. It's not really follow that customer journey and analytics. To be able to intelligently really talk to you what you need. And so it ends up in a dead end, right? So there's technology creating an end, which is like, and so when people say, do you want me to spend more? You're going to spend money on service. Don't spend money or don't build products that cause the customer to the dead end. And self-service should really work. So, Nat, can you do a connection check? What does that mean?
That means that your audio as well as the video are broken, totally broken.
Huh. I don't know what to do.
Somebody disconnected California from the internet.
Oh,
At
no.
least somebody broke or stole the web.
I can try and change. I can change to another Wi-Fi. With me for a minute. So, do we stay where we are?
Worst case, we get you back in.
Yeah.
We are willing to be patient. We're just happy to have you.
Okay, you guys amongst yourselves, and I'll.
Ja, interessant. Now I use the opportunity to say hello to our surprise guest in Extra, Guido Bayer, who has been muting himself now with sound. And it looks like Natalie is back with a clear picture.
Better
Great.
video. I
Can you hear me
Oh,
okay?
I can hide myself again.
No. Just
You
because
guys
you have
hear
less
me?
hair than other people in this call.
I hear you.
You hear me? Thank you, Marshall.
Ah,
Okay, so do you think we're safe? Should going?
Now that sounds better. Does
It sounds better.
A bit.
Hey, okay, we fixed it. Love technology that works.
Yeah.
So
I
I was I don't know what you heard. So very fun talking to the heads of technology, the heads of sketch, and helping them understand how they're creating experience that end up at an end, and probably almost or more importantly, helping vendors understand how the design of their technology is what's creating the data. So think about self-service. It should provide you what you want, but oftentimes it is a dead end in itself. So you're on a website, you need help, and it ends up giving you canned answers or answers that are not clear. They don't have content relevancy, have the customer journey analytics, and so it ends up a dead end, and you need to be transferred to an agent. And at that point, the agent has no context because they don't have the journey analytics. So now you have an agent that has to ask a whole bunch of questions, and that's really frustrating because that's actually what makes average handle time long. And so later in the Barbara will talk a little bit about what we're doing at DoorDash. And so for me, as an independent consultant now, it's been really fun to kind of go back into that role as a technology analyst, talk to the tech firm and help them understand now that we're in the fifth industrial revolution and we have the capabilities that we've never had before with data and AI and the way to really put together technology. We have a way to experience this as really meaningful and really fantastic. So yeah, it's been fun.
So I'm glad that you've brought AI into the discussion because you know it was going to come up sooner or later.
Yes.
I am curious, to what extent do you think it will be valuable? I mean, obviously you think it will be, but where do you think the cutoff line is? Just something I was watching the other day pointed out an important fact about artificial intelligence. It doesn't actually understand what it's doing.
Right. So there's a whole topic AI, that there's generative AI, and I think people have an unrealistic expectation because they think that if you talk to AI, it's the background thinking, formulating an answer, and cognating things, and then it can come back and respond. And basically, AI can respond with what you fed it, right? So I think that there's one vendor that I'm working with that's really cool, and they actually use transformers as of the AI technology to be able to take what you've given it and be able to respond in a chat bot or an MS. But I think people are really unrealistic about its ability to think like I mean it is really incredible that it can do some things, but not the same as human cognition.
I would like to explain to Christy why I did welcome to us merry men, such as Natalie is the female in our little round. She is joining us as the merry man in the round, and we are grateful, Christy, if you give us some hints on how I could do it next time even better. Because when you are a regular listener and viewer, as you are, you know that I take Natalie as our expert extremely, even that we haven't met, I feel like she is an old friend of mine already. And having her virtually often with us is important. And one or two, yeah, genau, Christy. The one or the other might ask himself why I surprised you with Guido, as Guido is the chap who has been doing some research on organizational experience, and that is a synthesis of employee experience and customer experience. And one of the steps, what we have found out, we were missing some research to enable and ask and even quote some figures and numbers. And at that point, I would like Guido to give the opportunity to say hello to you as well. And then back to Natalie.
Yeah, I think what Guido is doing is wrote a book, and the book is based on life theory, right? And the book comes from a lot of years, right? I'm not going to tell you how old I'm, but you can probably guess. A lot of years of actually implementing aspects of what is in the book. So there's really four pillars. There's technology, there's leadership, there's culture with all the people stuff, org change, people motivation, massive transformative purpose, and finances and metrics. And so in my process through the last hundreds, or at least it feels way, I've been implementing aspects of all of this various roles. This is the first time in the projects that I'm doing now, where I'm able to bring all of it together, be able to start to take that applied theory based on, I mean, back in the day, I used to sit in a call center with a stopwatch and do time emotion studies of amount of time that it took to be able to and call, right? Or do the, for call work time, or, like how long did an interaction take? So a lot of what I think why it resonates with a lot of people is because it's based on being in the field as a practitioner, right? And then taking a lot of management theory and going, does this really make sense, or do we need to shift it? And so what I think that Guido is doing is he's actually doing the research to say, yeah, you know what? Here's two people, don't know each other, right? Never met before, have very similar zeitgeist. He's the actual researcher. And what's fascinating is it matches. And I think that there's a special resonance about the human connection, something that we left out of corporation. People weren't very comfortable dealing with the human part of us. We're all human. We don't really. There's a corporate poet, David White, and he says we leave 60 to 70% of ourselves on the bus, in the car, in the parking lot, and then come into work, and then we act like something other than ourselves. And yet the most important aspect, where you motivation, where you get the passion, you get the innovation, where you get the product. Everybody's crying about productivity and people working from home and people doing 2 jobs and pretending like they work for one company. Like all of that comes from the people part of us. So all these things that everybody's complaining about, it's because you're ignoring the people. Do you agree?
Completely, because business is a bridge between people. Business is not a purpose on its own. It's done by people for other people. It connects people. And
I always ask, so you have chairs, and you have tables, and you have computers, and you have servers, and you have buildings. Take the people out. Would anything happen? Oh,
yeah.
So I go back to, like my financial theory. 2 important assets, most important assets: people, employees, and customers. Without an employee, you don't have product services. Without customers, there's no one to buy them. Yet neither are on the balance sheet. So, I really hope that we can do some work together, because I would really love to explore these topics and start to look at what is financial value of the 2 assets that you don't have on your balance sheet.
And it is the interesting aspect why I spontaneously thought of that would make a fantastic roundup, as Guido has had the chance, together with some business partners, to do some prime base research in an interesting environment and based on the 77 human needs. But Guido could explain this a bit better, what the research was about, and go into 1 or 2 of the findings, as I'm curious if my understanding and my personal feeling from the bottom of my heart was right, such as the 2 of you are riding the wagon and driving a vision forward, which I embrace from the bottom of my heart and say, yes, it's an idea that get wings, and that is marvelous.
Yeah, thank you for bringing us together, Ralph. So,
my pleasure.
Yep. If I don't know when it fits, so if you like me to tell something about this connection between customer and employee experience, or about what is what we all as human have, what we have in common, doesn't matter which role we play, is that we have needs. You all know Maslow, and this needs pyramid, it was a very nice approach, about 100 years old now, in a very special situation when he created this logic. It's a good approach, but when I worked starting with in design, creating customer experience, and later in HR, creating employee experiences, I very often found that it was not enough. The understanding of human needs is not deep enough in this approach. So that's why we created a little bit bigger one with 77 human needs, which of course is a lot. It's too much to work with all 77 human needs at the same time. But we all, as human beings, have in common that needs are driving our behavior and our experience, because experience in its core, is something that happens within us, within our brains, and it is a result of a comparison of what we need and what we get. Very simple, simply said. But what we need is a lot. And
I love that.
Our brain.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Natalie. Our brain is permanently and unconsciously computing all our needs with all the offers that we get. And with offers, I mean anything, just not an offer only from a company, also what an employer offers to you when you work. So, and everything what we get from the environment. And so the outcome of this comparison is first is emotion. Second is a motivation to do something. If I like what I find, then I stay. If I don't like it, I leave. And if it's in a mix, then I can change a little bit and try to make it likable for me. And love it, leave it, change it, to say it simply. So, and this is the outcome of this comparison. And sometimes we think, but seldomly. And so there are, for instance, some needs which are very important when it comes about our daily working life. There is about 25 of the 77 which we regularly measure and try to improve. So for instance, one of the most important is respect. And this is a need which is relevant for customers, for employees, for anyone. So
and here I would like to jump in, as Natalie was just overwhelmed by that is what I like. And I just want to give you a chance, Natalie, to tell what you like, on what flashed you in the moment.
So sorry, I apologize for interrupting, but it was because
Alles gut.
So think about this. They're in the business of XYZ, cars, travel, whatever it is. We are living in the experience economy in a way that we've never lived before. So the most simple example that I can give you is you buy a pencil. And then you try to erase something. And as you go to erase, guess what? The eraser falls off, or it's really weird, smudgy things on your paper. And then you go to write, and you a nice sharp pencil, you're ready to write your stuff, and then the pen breaks, and you sharpen it again, the lead breaks. So what you're buying is the experience of using the pencil. Now, as Guido said, that what you're doing is you're comparing an experience that you know before or what expectations are. So if the experience of this pencil is bad, I will never buy it again, and I will buy another from another company, right? If the experience is okay, then I might like, oh, maybe I tried a different, or maybe I just got a bad batch. Maybe I'll try it again. But if it happens again, I'm never come back. But if it's fantastic, guess what? You are now my company. And I will shout from the top of my lungs, from the top of the mountain, this is the best pencil. Now insert pencil with software, with technology, with whatever it is, right? That you're selling. And so what we're really experiencing is the experience of, and then making these comparisons. And so what I love about his work is it's the fundamental basis for the process that we go through when we evaluate. Like, so there's a whole concept of working at a company, and you have not invented your bosses? Do you have bosses that don't trust that you're going to do your work at home? Do you have, providing an experience, let's say you're a service company, and that service is fantastic, right? You go back, you're loyal, you talk about it, you tell your friends, you post online reviews. If it's bad, then you, and so I think and I'm doing, so he's saying, here's the fundamental way human beings work. And your two most important asks work this way. Like this is the sign. Like you can't argue that it's not that, because it's that. So give that, right? That's what you have. And what I'm saying is, if you actually sit in the seat, see that person, husband, wife, friend, employee, customer, and you understand their point of view and this comparison thing that they're doing, and you understand it to the point where you keep iterating your product and services so that it meets those expectations or exceeds those expectations, that's when you're going to become a company that's going to increase your revenue and decrease costs. Right. And what I did with the 4 pillars is to look, how are you doing this through metrics that you measure, through your culture, through your technology, and through your leader. And so when you put together, you have like the package about how I think how business works, and the pieces of business are missing. And I would say that there are some leaders. Well, I would say first, this brand new paradigm, right? And so I'm still having to explain the difference between sympathy and empathy, and why does empathy work, right? And it's not being nice, it's not being kind, it's not saying fluffy, nice things. And that's, it's been interesting to talk to people who read what I wrote and interpreted it that way. And some people even thought that technology, it was either HR technology or technology really having to do with it. It's really, really fascinating. So when we're really looking at how organizations work for the customer and the employee, and then looking at, what are the pillar, what are the things that we control, transform that, we really have to have this beginner's mindset, because we're shifting paradigms, and it's a paradigm that's never existed before. And there are a few leaders who do this, but they're few and far between. And I don't know that they actually have a context for what they're doing. I think what I did in writing the book, create a container context to explain what this is, so that there's some boundaries, and companies can start to go, oh, I'm doing that, I'm not doing that, I'm doing that to this degree, kind of like on a light scale. And it's really what I'm doing in my today, is having companies see, oh, that's what that looks like. Those are the results I can produce. And here's where I am in that continuum.
I love the example with the pen, the pencil, sorry, and the eraser. And as you might see, I'm old, so I need the eraser to be larger and to be always portable with my pencil, such as that. And out of that brand experience you just described, I have chosen a very well-known German brand to have not only my sharpener, which is a smart one, but I change from harder pencils to softer pencils to get a good writing experience. And I learned from my sons, which are drawing, that you need for writing a different pencil than for coloring or for drawing. Now, coming on that, my question would drive to Guido into it's, as you mentioned, there are some leaders which have anticipated or had taken wholeheartedly when they got starting reading your book, and it was for them like reading a fantastic thriller-like novel, or an agent feature. What is your experience, Guido, if you approach business leaders and employees in important roles, if you touch them with the concept and that you have some ideas and some findings how to drive things to a better?
Well, that's a hard question, because it differs. Honestly, it differs. So first, when people start thinking about what not only business but also about the human factors behind the business, and they get a little bit deeper in it, then they are very often touched and try to reflect their own thinking, their own behavior. When we work with the 77 human needs system, very often people say, can I have one exemplar? We have also kind of book. Can I have one for my own understanding, to understand my behavior better? It's and so this is, I like that very much, because it is behind the shallow. So it goes deeper then, because very often management has a kind of reflexive behavior. Okay, there's something new. I need to take it. I need to somehow deal with it. And hopefully it's gone after a while and I can do my daily business as I used to.
That's so funny. It's like, so that's the paradigm shift. What we're doing, what Guido and I are doing, means that you can't go back to what you used to do. And if you're going to just go, oh yeah, this is management theory, day sure, this is a new thing, and I'll read the book, and I'm going to digest it, and then I'm going to back to my old ways. Well, I predict those are the companies that are not going to make it. Right? You have two companies. One company that everybody loves to work for. People are trying. Everybody's applying. Everybody's trying to get in. Right? Because it's a great place to work. They pay well. They're treated well. Their ideas are heard. They're acknowledged. They feel like they can bring their self to work. Like just overall a great experience. Now, if you're an employee, where are you going to go? The place that your ideas, they say things like, well, all those ideas are great, but none of them are mine, so we're not going to implement any of them. Or you hear, well, that's not the way we do things here, or you yelled at, or you get admonished, and all of these things have happened to me in my career. So this is not fiction, right? This has happened. So you have event, right? The employee part of this. So at some point, some companies are going to find it very, very difficult to find employees. And then you find customers. If you're a customer and you get treated well, the businesses are good, the products are good, things do what say, it's delivered on time, we're going to shop. Right? So there's going to be a point in time, and I think it's coming soon. And I think we started just to see it. And the pandemic is this opportunity for what I call a cause for pause. We're all really, really fast, kind of like, rabbits on a wheel. And that wasn't sustainable. And along with COVID, and comes the pandemic, and it just everything down. And we all had a moment to reflect, or more than a moment, really, on our lives, what we wanted, what we wanted as customers, what we wanted as employees, what we wanted as human beings. And that really drove what we see as the Great Resignation. People opted out of working or changed jobs, the quiet quit. And like everyone I'm on my Instagram, Fortune magazine has some new news guys of what's happening now. I can't remember the name of working for two or three companies and pretending like you're working for one, right? So you have these things that are evolving, and that's because collective zeitgeist of employees has shifted, and they're basically saying, no, this doesn't work. As a leader, if you think doing what you've always done, and you're going to get different results, Einstein would say that's the definition of sanity. So keep doing it, right? Or look at the research that Guido has done. Look deep to it. Have a beginner's mind. Everything is possible. An expert's mind is where people think that they know, and there are very few possibilities. Have an open mind, have a beginner's mind, and really start to look at, okay, so what does this? What if we're right? Right? But what if we're right and you don't pay attention to this? You want to be a leader that moves your company into out. I don't think anybody intentionally wants to do that. But my theory is, if you create a workplace where everybody wants to work there, and you create a place where everybody wants to buy from, would you be having problems in economic downturn? There are some companies that are not having problems.
That is a point. Guido, going as we were always struggling in going for the challenge or the points that we were missing numbers. And we have a big fan of ours, and we are a big fan of him, Esteban. And when Esteban comes around, he asks, show me the numbers. So how many organizations did you interview, and could you tell us a bit about, let's say, the outcome of your study you undertook with Detikon and your own company?
Yeah, thank you, Ralph. So we wanted to find out how the interplay between customer and employee experiences. And coming from the idea, I think it's an everyday experience that if you do something for someone, maybe you prepare a meal at home, and the people you're preparing the meal for, they enjoy it, they eat it, and you see this, very important. You can perceive that the people like it. And then, of course, you feel somehow and strength, and you feel somehow proud of what you've done. You have good emotions, good experience. And the people which are your guests or your family, if they like it, they have also a nice experience. So next time you will think about, maybe I can try something new, innovate a little bit, create a new experience, even better one. So you have kind of, it's a self and strengthening circle. So it's getting higher and higher. Of course, it can go the other direction. If you create something, or maybe it doesn't work, people don't like it, see it, and boom, boom, it's getting down. So there's something, some interrelation. And I like the example of a band. So there's an old famous song from an Austrian band called Opus. I'm totally aware that in California maybe they're not so famous. And they had a song in the 80s, was called Life is Life. And they're singing, when the feeling of the people is the feeling of the band, then life is life, na 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 na, and so on. And this picture, feeling of the people is the feeling of the band. If you are at a concert, of course, you know, there's some energy is between the people who create something and the audience. And I know, I'm aware, you're waiting for numbers, right? If you mentioned it 1 million times now, I guess. So I will show you some numbers. So we had, the first thing which we wanted to understand is, are there are dimensions where we systematically can create an experience for customers and employees? By the way, the echo is gone. I don't know how
Let's
it
hope
works.
that lasts.
Yeah, okay.
Don't question it, just go.
Okay, I go on. So, and if you don't mind, I would just give you a glimpse about this 8 dimensions we found, which are creating this magic energy, and this, and then I would show you some numbers just to give you an impression about what we found out. And when I share my screen, I'm just doing it. We will see if it works or not. 6 dimensions, so excuse me, not 8. So we have 6 dimensions of what we
do not see yet.
You don't see it yet. This is not so great. So
if you say present and then choose the screen you want to show us that might work better? And I just wanted to share that friendly words from Christy and hide them again. I agree. That is, I love to be going forward as an example, and that is exactly what Natalie described and you embraced.
Okay.
So
can you say something now?
No.
Oh, StreamYard hat einen
Chaka!
Okay, cool. So just to give you an impression about the different qualities of this magic connection between creators and consumers of something. So we run interviews with people who are experts in employee and customer experience, 23, I guess. And we found out that there are 6 dimensions which are very often somehow addressed when you think about customer and employee experience and how it works together. The first one, and this is my favorite, is degrees of freedom. If people have degrees of freedom when they create something or when they act, even service, for instance, then this gives them a great experience and the customer too. And on the customer side, let's stay with the service area. If you can choose which kind of service and which way you want to interact with the service, self-service or not, do you want to talk to someone or do you want to watch a YouTube video or whatever? If you have different options to do this, then you feel fine. So degrees of freedom is one dimension which we can use to improve customer and experience and employee experience at the same time. And the meaning of the 6 dimensions is, of course, we can analyze the status of these dimensions in a company and then help to improve, for instance, this degrees of freedom dimension. One famous example, Ritz-Carlton, I guess you have heard about it. It's very old now, but it's old but gold. So if you as an employee, doesn't matter what your role is, have a budget to solve a customer problem without needing to ask your manager or whatever, $2,000, I guess it was, in Ritz-Carlton, then the customer is happy and you are also happy because you as an employee feel empowered, you feel strength, you feel that the company trusts you, that you will do the right thing. Even if you are just, your task is cleaning something, whatever. So everyone has responsibility for the experience of the customer, and this gives an employee also a very great experience in the same moment. This is how these 6 dimensions work, and I don't want to spend too much time with the 6 dimensions here. If you want to know a little bit more about it, you can download this report for free, no problem. Competence is also a dimension. Technical environment, we had this. Values and mindset, brand, and feedback tools and co-creation methods was the 6 dimensions we identified. And now, these are some slides which explain this degrees of freedom. I mentioned this a little bit better. And I want to spend 30 seconds with this slide because this human needs thing explains why one dimension works. For instance, when we have degrees of freedom, this organizational, we can design this in an organization, the degrees of freedom. And by designing it, we satisfy human needs. For instance, efficiency. If people can act more freely, then they can solve problems faster. If these are problems which are not a little bit more complicated. For easy problems, rules are good. And people feel more competent. Competence is also a human need. Participation, because they feel a valuable part of an organization. Respect, we had this in the beginning. And so on. Trust, responsibility. And these satisfied needs create emotions. Emotions which they employ for the employees. They feel more free, more trusted, more competent. Proud, when they can solve a problem. And customers feel appreciated, safe, somehow in control, because they know, yes, there is something which I don't like, but I can change it because the service personnel is good, and they change it for me. So I have somehow reached my goal. And this is, for instance, one example for a need. So when we talk about freedom, this is one of the 77 human needs. So just jump to the numbers. To better understand how customer experience and employee experience work together, we asked the people some questions. And we had 135 people from employee and customer experience here who answered our questions. And just a short glimpse. This slide is not so surprising, I would say, but it shows that the questionnaire works, because sometimes you need results which you expect to show that your method is working. So when you ask people about the status of customer experience maturity and employee experience maturity, not surprisingly, customer experience maturity is higher than employee experience maturity, because customer experience has 15 years Vorsprung. I don't know Vorsprung in English. Maybe you can help me out. It's ahead, 15 years ahead. So the whole customer experience thing is 15 years older. And HR departments, whoever deals with employee experience, IT, whoever is doing it, they just learn since 5 years that is important. We asked the people about the key customer experience drivers, which they are, what they think, what are the most important ones. And the top 4 of 19, we had selected 19 from the qualitative research we did before. First thing, they are very close together. Range was from 1 to 5, as normally rating scale, normal rating scale. Employees are competent to exceed customer expectations. Yes, that fits totally what we have heard before. And then it's getting also interesting. All actions in the company are focused on customer experience improvement. Okay, that's normal. Customers are treated as individual personalities. Oops, empathy is coming. And employees in customer service are enabled to process a customer request until it is solved. So this is it's a paradigm shift, change in paradigm, how you look at service KPIs, not call handling time anymore. And if you look at customer experience drivers, first one was employees identify with the company. 4.5 out of 5 is quite high. Employees are treated as individual personalities. Empathy again. Employees and customers feel they belong to the company. This is also some emotional stuff. Yeah? And both employees and customers feel they belong to the company. And customers act appreciatively toward employees. That's also interesting. Also a human thing. But what I found interesting was that during the last years, okay, we have a lot of KPI measurement in the companies. Customers can give feedback about the experience. Yes, they can. Employees can give feedback about the experience. Yes, also they can. But there's quite a gap between the possibility to give experience and what happens then. Because yes, we collect KPIs, and maybe the department which is measuring the KPIs is, they have their work, they report regularly. But then what happens? And in the very beginning of a kind of value chain, what you can do with this data would be that all people know about the data. But this is not the case. So if you have a rating scale from 1 to 5, 3 is in the middle. And it's not a very good value. All employees have knowledge about the experience of the customer. It's not really good fulfilled. It's not fulfilled very high. Customers know how a company treats its employees. It's also not so so common now. What was really shocked me was all employees have knowledge about the experience of the customers. We measure a lot, but we don't use this knowledge and those numbers. We don't spread them the way that people understand in a company how the experience of customers is, and more importantly, that people understand what is my contribution to this experience. And Because very often we found also in qualitative data that people cannot bridge the gap between what they are doing and what this means for the customer's experience and what the benefit is, especially if you have these functions like HR, IT, finance, and so on.
Thank you, Guido, for sharing that so far. And I just want to step in, and if you keep the slides at ready and just could stop sharing, as that could be interesting to see by having read and seen those numbers, how the experience is, for instance, with what Natalie had been assuming when writing the book, has done on research on her end, and what as the most actual experience she had made in San Salvador.
Sounds great.
Now unmute, Natalie. Yeah. Yeah, we are very cautious these days with technology.
Yes. So it's, I love the research, and I really would like to partner with you to dive deeper, because I think a lot that we can collaborate on in terms of continuing to survey organizations and help them where they are on the continuum. Mostly see how far they are. I was actually interviewing for a job, and they had, read my work, and they said, "Oh, doing empathy in action." And I said, "Oh, okay. So tell me about this. Tell me about that." "Oh, well, we're not doing that." "No, we're not really doing that." And it was for a consulting. So I thought it really fascinating. People have the assumption that they're doing something, and they don't have the distinction of what it means to do it versus not do it. So the work that I'm doing with Dash and a couple other brands is to help them understand what it means to deploy empathy in action. And so DoorDash book, and they created their own program, and now they've asked me to come in and look at what they've done. And what they found was, and I'll just take a tiny example, they were looking at chat interactions.
Mm-hmm.
And their interactions were between 10 and 15 minutes long. So the goal was, let's see if we can still get the customer what they need, but do it in less time, right? And normally, in the normal paradigm of doing that, what you're doing when you're squishing the average handle time, you're making the experience worse. So the goal is, how do you make the experience better, but reduce the average handle time? So here's the concept behind it: is if you ask the customer in a chat, so let's just say talking to the company, do you want the interaction to be long? The customer says, hands down, no. Then you ask the employee, do you want the experience to be long? No. Do you want the experience to end up in a dead end? No. Would you like the experience to help get what you need? Yes. So when we started to look at how they were interacting, there was a lot of scripting that went on in the interaction. And so what we said was, if we were a customer and we were calling in, and so oftentimes questions that come up are, they forgot my eggs are cold, they delivered the drink, whatever that is. So we created a phrase, and how we help the agents understand. So we took away the scripts. We help the agents understand when someone's calling about their order, what they're really saying is, the house is on fire. Now, it's not literally on fire, because it's the eggs are cold, right?
Somebody dropped the ball.
Right, but
It's
somebody
bad.
dropped the ball. So we say, "Oh, I'm so sorry that your house is on fire. It must be really frustrating, and it's really important to not have your house on fire." with typical kind of, language and trying to be nice, right? So we came up with is when the customer says, "My house is on fire," our response, sitting in the customer's seat, is, I will the hose. So not only does that show that you're sitting in the seat of the customer, that you've listened, you understood, and now you're going to take an action that is going to solve the problem in an effective and efficient way, which meets or exceeds the customer's expectations. Right? So then we start to relook at, we'd look at chats, and we look at the chat. We would say, okay, we'll dissect this. And then we would talk with the agents, and we would say, okay, how can we do this better? What do you think? Right? And we start to dialogue about what does that action, how does that interact different when we actually look at sitting in the seat of the customer and giving them what they want and need. And then there's 4 steps in the empathy pillars: listen, understand, predict what would be better, learn from it. Right? So we kept doing that over and over and over and over. Long story short, we took chats that were 10 to 15 minutes long down to 5 minutes. Do the numbers. Times 20,000 agents. It worked.
That's impressive.
It's a lot of fires to put out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But, instead of just calling the fire brigade, getting yourself your hose or the water. Gott, was heißt Eimer? Oha. Yeah. Well, I'm with my vocabulary.
Bucket, huh?
Yeah, danke, bucket. There's a hole in the bucket. No, in that case, that is a good opportunity, as Guido has asked me to show one last slide, where he had something with a red issue in, and then I would hand over to Marshall to go for the famous last words, wrap up.
As Natalie mentioned in the end of the Salvador experience, so they co-worked with the people from with the service people, and so this aspect of participation is, of course, builds for me the bridge for this employee customer experience thing again. And I just want to show you one result which thrilled me the most, and is that's why I just wanted to show it to you in the last minute, if I can. Again.
You managed once, and
yes,
Natalie, for a little backgrounder, he has his kids. He is the caretaking person to bring them to bed in several minutes. Yeah. And this is a ritual and a commitment, and he doesn't want to goof there. So,
so if we run over time, it's our fault.
No, doesn't matter. It's my fault because I try to share again. So hopefully you can see this now.
Yeah, you made it.
So this is a little bit complicated, but I love it, to be honest, because here we see differences. We see differences between people, companies which are very good at customer experience leaders, and we see what the main conclusion here is, if you ask leaders and compare them with 6 customer experience followers, what is most important for them at the moment to improve customer experience, then you will see the blue stuff here is customer experience leaders rate this higher than customer experience followers, and the red one is customer experience followers rate this aspect higher than the leaders. What I want to mention is above here above. The people who are actually high in customer experience, the companies here, they focus now on employee experience. They let people more participate in the development of the relationship customer and employee. Employees can give feedback about their experience is the highest rated point. Employees and customers can interact directly. So what I mention here is, customer experience leaders invest in employee experience now because they somehow had reached a high level on customer experience and interaction with the customer. And now they understand that they can only get better when they improve the experience of the employees. And this is, I think, a very important finding and should motivate companies more to do what Natalie is offering, for instance. And the red here is all actions in company are focused on customer experience improvement. This is, of course, in focus of companies which are actually not as good as others in customer experience. But if you're good in customer experience, then you focus on employee experience now. And this is what I wanted to show you because it was surprising us, but found it a very important result. And you wanted numbers.
And I appreciate that you showed some, and it is so valuable that we have a lot of ideas already running through our head, that the opportunity for the next convo on that topic is already getting vivid. Natalie, as I promised, I hand over to Marshall for famous last words and wrap up.
Yeah, but that just means I'm going to be handing it right back over to our guests. After all, we've covered a pretty fair amount of ground here. And if either of you, Dr. Nat or Dr. Guido, had to leave the audience with one thought to take away from today, what would it be? What would those famous last words be? Either one.
Be an empathy practitioner, which just means sit in the seat of the person across from you, no matter who's in your life. Hear them, understand them from the point of view, and see how really truly listening changes the next action that you're going to take. And then see their reaction and how amazing it feels. You're going to want to do it again.
Well said.
And
yeah.
Normally, I don't need to add something for this famous report. This was great. So I can also only say that every minute of our life counts. Doesn't matter if you're an employee or a customer. We are humans, and we should be honest to ourselves and to others. And then it's valuable lifetime.
These are both excellent thoughts to leave us with. Ralph agrees. I'd like to thank both of you, Natalie Petouhoff and Guido Beyer, for joining us today. And of course, thank you to our audience, whoever you are. I hope you're still there. And if you're not, well, you can catch us on YouTube or the LinkedIn replay. Ralph, want to take us out?
Yeah. I